Today we're going to be taking a look at 75399 Rebel U-Wing Fighter. This set will be releasing on May 1st with 594 pieces and a retail price of $70 US, which is $10 cheaper than the original U-Wing from 2016 that retailed for $80. However, if you adjust that set's price for inflation, it comes out to about $100 in today's money. And of course, I'll briefly compare these two sets towards the end of the video. Now, one thing I have to say about this U-Wing though is that its box art is absolutely beautiful. The set itself might not be that great, but the box art, in my opinion, is one of the best looking that we have gotten in the past few years. I just think it's very aesthetically pleasing with the placement of the build and the planet in the background. It just looks great. And then on the back, you're going to find another render of the set along with some pictures up at the top right showcasing its play features. And then actually opening up the box and digging in, on the inside you're going to find just 6 numbered bags, as well as your instruction manual and a small sticker sheet with just 6 stickers. Moving on to the minifigures, you get 4 included in this set, and first up here we have the ISB Tactical Agent. And this figure looks great. There's loads of detail in the front with continuous printing going from the legs to the chest, and then on the back you're going to find some great detail as well. And he also comes with a riot shield, which I think looks really cool. Now, I do have to say, based off the torso and leg printing, this figure does look like it should have some sort of helmet, because it's clearly very reminiscent of Stormtrooper armor. But I mean, hey, this is how they appear in Andor, so I guess it's accurate. And then next up here we have the figure in this set that's getting all the talk right now, that being Dedra Meero. And this should be the highlight minifigure of this set. However, I'm just gonna go ahead and get the elephant in the room out of the way. Her legs look downright awful, and that's because, well, as you can see, the white on her legs is clearly a different shade of white from the white on the torso, and this is because it's white printing on top of a black leg piece, so it just makes it faded. And right when this set got revealed, everyone, myself included, knew this was going to be a problem with this figure, but actually seeing it in person, it's a lot worse than I was expecting it to be. It genuinely just does not look good. The white on her legs looks like a wet paper towel or something. It's just bad. And obviously on the box they're going to show it off as perfect white, but in person it's not perfect white at all. And this has been happening for years now, and I mean, LEGO, just fix it already. Just put 2 layers of printing on top of these pieces so it doesn't bleed through like this. But on the bright side though, the rest of the figure looks great, especially that hat hair piece combo. I mean, as you can see here, it looks amazing, and I'm sure this could be used on other figures as well. And then she's also going to have a double-sided face. Anyways though, next up here we have the man himself, Cassian Andor, and this figure is fairly simple. It's just his season 2 outfit. However, it looks really good. There's great printing on the front and the back, and then he too is also going to have a double-sided face. And then lastly we have what I think is the actual highlight minifigure of this set, being K2SO, and he looks great. I'm very happy they finally remade this character, and they did a good job on him. He's fairly simple, but he looks accurate and detailed. And if you're wondering, here's what he looks like compared to the older version, and as you can tell, they're pretty much exactly the same, exact same mold and everything. However, there is some very minor differences on the chest printing, as you can see here, and then the older model from 2016 actually has printing on the sides and back of his head, which, to be honest, I think makes it look a little bit cooler. However, if you don't have that old one, don't go spend a bunch of money on it. I do think it's a bit better, but this new one is still great. Overall, I think this lineup on paper is solid. Some of you might think that 4 figures is really not enough for a $70 set, and I mean, I could get behind this, but at the same time, I don't really care. I think 4 figures is fine for $70, and on top of that, at the time of me recording this video at least, we haven't seen the episode of Andor this set is actually based off of, so we don't really know what other characters are in the scene. I mean, maybe they could have thrown in like a Krennic or something, but I think for the most part, this lineup is good. And when I say lineup, I just mean the lineup of characters included in this set, not their overall quality, because again, Dedra Meero's legs are not good. Now moving on to the actual model itself, there's some things I like about it, and there's some things I don't like about it. The first thing I want to say though is I really appreciate how sleek and clean looking the model is. It's by no means perfect, but it is very clean looking, which I really like. On the wings, you're going to find some very minimal detail with some stickers, and also a few different colors going on with the white and the blue and the yellow, and there's like some mix match detail here and there to kind of give it that rusty rebel ship look. And then right in front of the cockpit, you're going to find a small little yellow sticker adding some detail, and then right below that you're going to have the 2 main cannons with some spring-loaded shooters. And these spring-loaded shooters have pretty much the exact same function as the old one did, where there's just this brick-built button on top that you can press down and fire them. And I'm not gonna lie, this is actually really satisfying. Now, the cockpit windshield piece is printed, and it's supposed to be white, the same shade of white as the actual bricks. However, as you can tell, it basically has the same problem that Dedra's legs have, where it's a very faded white that just doesn't match the rest of the ship. And if you look on the box art, they depict it as completely white, matching the rest of the ship. However, in person, it's not that way at all. And I'm not gonna go so far to say that this is false advertising, but it is definitely a pretty strong miscommunication to the consumer. Anyways though, the area around the cockpit looks really good with all these slope pieces giving it a very clean look in my opinion. However, as you can tell, they come up over the windshield piece a little bit, creating a bit of a lip, and because of this, it's kind of hard to just manually grab the windshield piece and open it. So they did pretty much the exact same thing they did on the old one, if any of you guys had that set, where there's this little button on the back that you can push inwards, and it kind of pops the windshield piece open to where you can easily grab it and open it up. And then inside the actual cockpit, there's going to be some very minimal detail with just a brown seat as well as a stickered control panel. And of course, you can grab Cassian and sit him in the cockpit and fold the windshield back down. And overall, this whole front area, excluding the windshield piece, looks very good. Again, it's super clean and I like that. However, as clean and as smooth looking as this area may be, like I'm sure you've seen others point out, it is way too narrow. And you can easily see this when you look at an actual picture of the U-Wing from Star Wars and then compare it to this set. It's just too narrow. It's not anything drastic, but I really think it should be about 1 or 2 studs wider. Regardless though, back behind the windshield piece, you're going to find this little area that's basically supposed to represent the engine of the ship, which I think looks pretty cool. And then right behind that, we have the actual engine thrusters themselves. And I have to say, this is probably the worst area of this build. Now, don't get me wrong, I think the actual engines themselves, like the individual cylinders, look really good. Individually, they are clean and detailed and built well. However, the reason I say this is the worst area of the ship is because they are way too big. And this is another thing you can see when you just go look at an actual picture of the U-Wing in Star Wars. The engines are a bit smaller and they're closer together. However, on this one, they're way too large. Again, they individually look good, but they're way too large. They're too spread apart. As you can see here, there's this pretty large gap in between them. And I mean, as a whole, they look all right. However, it definitely throws off the proportions of the ship a little bit. On the very back here at the bottom, there's going to be this piece you can fold down if you want to. It doesn't reveal anything. You can't see into the interior through here, but I mean, hey, it's here to fold up and down if you want to do that. And then the sides of the hull look all right. There's good shaping and a little bit of detail with the windows there. And then you can fold these doors down on either side. They technically should be sliding doors. However, I'll talk about that more here in a little bit. But regardless, you can fold these down. It is a bit tricky though, as you can see here. I wish there was like a small handle sticking out or something to make this easier. But anyways, when they're folded down, they reveal a very small and minimal interior. There's really nothing going on in here. Literally just a small seat and then a small sticker control panel back there that you can barely see. It's kind of hard to get on camera. And if you want to, I guess you can take K2SO or one of the other figures and put them in here. It's very crammed and hard to do. You kind of just have to throw them in here and then fold the doors up. But I mean, if you try hard enough, it is doable. And then lastly, for this bottom section on the front here, there is this sloped transparent piece that adds some detail and you can kind of see into the interior from here. Now, the main play feature with this set is obviously the wings being able to open, and this is very easy to do. You literally just pull them apart and fold them back. And it uses the exact same technique as the old one, where there is a ball joint on the front that holds them closed and then a ball joint on the back that holds them open. And when the wings are open and it's in its flying mode, I guess you could call it, it does look pretty good for the most part. However, it does make the cockpit area look really small. Really going back to what I said earlier with this front area being too narrow, the length of the cockpit is fine, but again, it's just too narrow and it looks even worse when the wings are open. Now, the last thing I want to do is compare it to the 2016 model, and as you can tell, the 2016 model is quite a bit larger. However, like I said at the beginning, it's technically a $100 set when you adjust it for inflation, and yeah, there's definitely a $30 difference between these two models. As you can tell, the 2016 model has way better proportions. It's the correct width, it's not too narrow, and the engines are actually the proper size. They're not too big. And then perhaps the main thing it has over the newer one is that it has actual sliding doors, which is how the doors are actually supposed to be, because that's how they appear in Rogue One. And on top of that, it has a way more roomier interior, and it has these little turrets that fold out the side, which were a pretty prominent feature of the ship in Rogue One. And while I do have to say the newer one is overall a little bit more detailed on the outside and more clean looking, the older one beats it in pretty much every other category with proportions and sizing and especially playability. And all of this brings me to the conclusion that I really think this set should have been $100. I mean, for what we get, $70 is definitely a great price. This set is not overpriced or underpriced at all in my opinion. However, making it $30 cheaper than the older model, again with inflation adjusted, just sacrificed way too much in my opinion. I appreciate LEGO trying to make this a cheaper set, however in this case it was just not worth it. And I think if this set was $100, it would feel way more complete, and it would obviously have all the same play features and be as accurate as the older model, which I think a lot of people would be willing to spend the extra money for. Oh, and of course, not to mention the problem with the windscreen piece and Dedra's legs. So because of that, I'm feeling a solid 7.5 out of 10 for this set. Let me know what you guys think about it down in the comments below. If you're new, please consider subscribing, and if you want to check out more of my videos, you see on the screen right now.